Meeting to order. Councilmember Garola, would you lead us in the pledge?
Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Shannon, would you roll call, please?
Councilmember Garola,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Villaseñor,
Here.
Mayor Austin,
Here.
Councilmember Broggie,
Here.
Councilmember Mendez.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, we're moving on to item number 4, approval of the agenda.
So moved.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion, a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Moving on to number 5, public comments. Our first speaker will be Maria Ventura. We sit 3 minutes, and then when you hit 30 seconds left, the yellow light will come on. Okay?
Honorable Mayor, City Council, City Manager, City Staff, and the residents of Fillmore. I am Maria Ventura. I'm the Senior Public Affairs Manager for SoCal Gas here in Ventura County, and I want to wish everybody a happy Valentine's Day. Before I started my remarks, I commented I wouldn't want to be anywhere else except here on Valentine's Day. But what I am here is to provide some information about, it's been top of mind for many customers that their bills have been higher than normal. And they've received their January bills, or they're higher than historical. And the reason for that is the market prices for natural gas has dropped significantly in February when compared to January. While prices in the western region have decreased from the prices in January, they remain higher than last year. The core procurement rate each month reflects the price SoCal Gas pays for natural gas for residential and business customers. SoCal Gas does not set the price for natural gas. Instead, natural gas prices are determined by national and regional markets. SoCal Gas buys natural gas in those markets on behalf of residential small business customers, and the cost of buying that gas is billed to those customers with no markup, meaning SoCal Gas does not profit for the movement of gas commodity prices. I do have good news to share. The California Public Utilities Commission, CPUC, approved the acceleration of the California Climate Credit for SoCal Gas customers in response to the unprecedented natural gas prices in the western United States. SoCal Gas residents, customers I should say, received a credit of $50.77 in their February or March bills. We continue to inform and offer ways to help income-qualified customers through our bill assistance and forgiveness programs, home improvement assistance, and the level pay program. SoCal Gas is also delaying collection activities on overdue residential accounts until April the 1st, and we will not disconnect overdue customers before July 1st. We have also delayed non-residential disconnections until at least March the 1st. SoCal Gas also recently donated $1 million to the Gas Assistance Fund. This is a program which helps income-qualified customers pay their natural gas bills. And I would encourage residents who are interested to visit SoCalGas.com for more details. And a couple of tips: how can you reduce your natural gas usage? Lower your thermostat, wash clothes in cold water, lower your heater to 120 degrees, and limit the use of non-essential natural gas appliances, fireplaces, pool heaters, spas, that sort of thing. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Joe Diaz.
Good evening, members of the City Council. Welcome to the new council members, City Manager, and staff. My name is Joe Diaz, and I'm here on behalf of my sister, which is the owner of property 904 River Street. We had received a letter in regards to extending our fence, and at the time, and during the time of on March 3rd of 2020, I submitted a drawing to Michael McCorkney and Inez Ibel. And at that time, they said that that my drawing would have to go before the city before we can get an approval to extend our fence. And 2 weeks later, I came back and I talked to Mike and Ibel, and at that time, they told me that it was okay to go ahead and do my project. And then I asked them at that time, was there any fees involved to go ahead and do the project? And they told me that it wasn't necessary, that it was okay for me to go forward. So at this point, all I could say is if I'd have known that it wasn't doable, we would have never spent the time or money to do the job. I'm not the kind of person that likes to break the law or go against whatever the city policies are, so it came to me as a surprise. And at this point in time, I would like to request that the city grant the necessary permit to continue the way things are. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Mr. Gibbs.
Thank you for your time.
Our next speaker is Esperanza Cuevas.
Good evening to everyone. My name is Esperanza Cuevas. I've been living here in Fillmore for a year now, and I was very surprised to see my water bill come at a very high amount, considering that my family and I were out of the house for 2 weeks. And I had turned off the water sprinklers and everything, so I thought I was saving money. And the water bill showed otherwise. I was told this is the minimum water usage that I was charged, $147.50. I thought it was a lot because there were 5 family members out of the household. And I thought we were saving money by not showering, washing, and doing our dishwasher and things like that, our normal life. And yet the water bill was excessively high. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm just going to address that real quick if I can. We're examining the water rates right now, and we'll be having a hearing on this exact thing in the future. So I'd keep an eye open for that public hearing and appear again if you want to. Okay? Thank you. Okay, no more public speakers? Okay, we'll move on to item number 6, consent calendar. Do I have a motion? I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion. I have a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Okay, our next item is, I gotta pull my agenda apart. And by the way, thanks, Maria. I wouldn't want to spend it here with anybody else. I'm just kidding. My sweetheart said, hurry up with the public hearing and get home. We're moving on to item number 7A, public hearing, consideration of the adoption of the city's 2020 Urban Water Management Plan and Water Shortage Contingency Plan. And at this point, I'm going to go ahead and open the public hearing.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council and residents of Fillmore. I am your City Engineer, Roxanne Hughes, and I'm going to present on this item for the public hearing to get it underway. This is the consideration of the adoption of the city's 2020 Urban Water Management Plan and Water Shortage Contingency Plan. The California Urban Water Planning Act actually requires that municipalities that supply water, like we do, over 3,000 or more acre feet per year, to have an urban water management plan, or an UWMP, and submit this to the State Department of Water Resources every 5 years. And so this is our update for the 2020 plan year that got behind. And we hired NKN to prepare the plan, and it was actually presented here before this council at regular session on January 10th. You may recall we had NKN here, and Becca presented the whole plan to you in preparation for this public hearing. This public hearing was notified in the local newspaper, the Gazette. It was published on January 26th and again on February 2nd. And we're here tonight to receive final comments, review changes, and adopt the plans. Any comments received here at this public hearing will be incorporated as an appendix to the final document. this is an important thing because adoption of the 2020 Urban Water Management Plan and Water Shortage Contingency Plan, which is now required, keeps us in compliance with the Urban Water Management Planning Act, and that's important because it enables us to remain eligible for funding programs through the Department of Water Resources. And so we spent a little over $50,000 for MKN to prepare this plan for us. And moving forward, there isn't any additional financial impacts, but adoption of the plan does carry with it the positive economic impact of achieving this regulatory threshold so we can be eligible for state assistance when it's available. So this is also a council goal for natural resources. The City of Fillmore protects, manages, conserves, and restores our natural resources generations, so that fits into here. Water is probably one of the biggest things that we can protect and restore and have available. It's all good news in our urban water management plan. Our water picture here in Fillmore looks pretty good, if you recall from it. And so with that, I'm just recommending that we approve the attached resolution number 233921 and adopt the 2020 Urban Water Management Plan and Water Shortage Contingency Plan. And I will attempt to answer any questions as you may have.
Any questions for staff?
I do have a couple of questions and comments. Thank you. Thank you, Roxanne. So just a comment, and this is an edit regarding, it's right at the beginning, it's the council members. I'm sure you probably noticed that. So just to update that.
Yes,
and,
we will.
And then I did notice that there's use of a zoning map from 1994, and that just caught my attention because it's 20 years ago. So I just want to make sure that we have our most updated zoning map.
Okay.
Right? Okay, if any zones have changed in the last 20 years. And then I just want to make a comment that I appreciate the comment log that MKN submitted. And I know that they did say that they addressed my comment about hydraulic fracking, and they referenced, let me see if I can pull it up. They referenced a document, and it was section 4.2, and I know that within this whole document that was submitted, there was sort of different attachments and appendices that included a variety of different sources. So let me see if I can pull that up really quick. Okay, it was, I just didn't know the acronym, that hydraulic fracking impact is included in the WSCP Section 4.2, and I wasn't sure which document the WSCP stood for.
That is the Water Shortage Contingency Plan.
Okay.
That is the acronym for that part of it.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. And I just wanted to say, kudos to MKN. I think they did a really fantastic, comprehensive job on this report, and I really appreciate them including different water agencies, different stakeholders in the county, including the groundwater basin, and using the information, the climate resiliency information and data that has been gathered by others to be part of this report. Right. So that was, I was happy to see that collaborativeness, and checking in with them.
Yeah, when we did the RFP and we hired the consultant, that was one of the reasons that we recommended bringing them on board, is this is kind of a bread and butter item for them, and they're very plugged in, and very good, and very comprehensive. So thank you for noting that.
It's a good report that we can give to the community, that our water is at a good point right now, and that we have definitely lots of plans regarding contingency. We look like we've turned over every rock. If something were to happen, that we do have a plan in place for any kind of water emergency. So that's good to know. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions?
Yeah, just a quick question. Under the fiscal impact, Roxanne, it's referenced that the adoption of the plan carries positive economic impact of achieving the regulatory threshold to become eligible for state assistance. So what would that look like? Can you give me a hypothetical?
Sure. The Department of Water Resources often has grant monies available for different water supply, water resiliency, those kinds of projects. And so when they have a grant program that we wanted to go after, and we wanted to use DWR funding to do something, improving a water well or doing a water-related project that's within the confines of whatever grant program they may be bringing forward, we would have to have this UWMP in place in order to be eligible for that grant funding.
And the funding could be used for something like, as you mentioned, working on a well, one of the wells that might be down. Okay.
Yeah, the Department of Water Resources has a number of routine grant programs that they go through that's to the end of community water supply or resiliency and those types of projects that they're competitive usually, but they are out there, and if you go after one, you have to have your EWIM in place.
Great, thank you.
Any other comments? Okay. Anybody in the public like to speak on this item? Seeing none, we're going to close the public hearing. And at this point, I'd like to entertain a motion.
Okay, I'll make a motion that the City Council approve the attached resolution number 233921, adopting the 2020 Urban Water Management Plan and Water Shortage Contingency Plan.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion. I have a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Move on to item number 7B, grant of easements and agreements for El Dorado Estates, Anza Street Gate Entrance. I guess Roxanne's up there again.
Hello, I'm just going to wait right here because I'm on again. Yes, so I've put up on the PowerPoint here just a picture of the area. This item is for entering into an easement agreement with El Dorado Estates for the Anza Street gated entrance. So we're over in the Bridges subdivision phase 2. The development was required to install a secondary access point to El Dorado Estates as part of the development. After, a variety of design decisions, it was agreed to connect that gate at Anza Street, which is inside the park as well as outside the park, so it'll be an extension of Anza Street, the new portion, into the old portion. I've shown the location in the pin map here. Highway 126 is at the top of the screen, and we're east of the Pole Creek Basin. And so that gate, this is what the new portion of Anza Street looks like, and at the end there, that's where they've broken the wall. They've now installed the rest of the wrought iron fence, and what this is a vehicular gate that is actuated when you leave the park. There's inductive loops, so if you pull up at the gate, it opens and lets you out. Coming into the park, the mobile home ownership is not having residents be able to enter from this gate, and they're not intending to anytime soon. They do have the ability to activate key cards and have it be an entrance at some point in the future, which they may do, but right now it's not being used as two-way, it's exit only, and you don't need a key card to do that. If and when they do the key cards, another thing that we're doing with, and the sheriff and the fire chief have both approved this. The developer's going to be putting red curb on both sides of Anza Street because it's a pretty narrow street, and the adjacent residents were already parking there. And so if you were going to have this be in and out, it would be pretty narrow with on-street cars. So we're going to have red curb to support appropriate access as well as emergency access. There is a Knox box, so right now emergency vehicle access to the park through this gate is already available. And so on the right hand of the figure that you're looking at, this is the easement that we're granting. The physical location of it would be right over where this gate is, and extending around this block wall in the background is there's a pedestrian access gate that you enter over here. And so that goes on to this lettered parcel D, which is right now a vacant field that will be landscaped before the city accepts the improvements, but we're giving them an easement over the corner of that landscaping parcel, and then it goes all the way across Anza Street and projects into parcel C on the other side, which is basically adjacent to our access road, and there's the open box drainage channel right there on that side. And so what the easement agreement does between the city and El Dorado Mobile Home Park is it gives them a non-exclusive easement to use the city parcels, including the right-of-way and both lettered parcels on either side that this easement affects, to access and maintain the vehicular access gate, the pedestrian access gate, and all the related infrastructure for the use of those two things. The permitted uses include operation and maintenance of the gates and related infrastructure, and ingress egress to and through the gates. Should the mobile home park not need the gates and not want to use them any longer for some reason, then we could terminate the agreement within 180 days written notice, and the city would review and approve replacement ingress and egress improvements. If they want to do something else or reclose the wall, we would review those plans, and then we would terminate this agreement. They need to provide us written notice of change of ownership if they sell the park or somebody else becomes responsible for it within 30 days of such change, and they are required to maintain all of the gates and infrastructure at their own sole cost and expense, inclusive of prompt repair to any damage to the infrastructure. It says that if there's any in the agreement, if either party, the city or the mobile home park, defaults in the full, faithful, and punctual performance of any obligation at the end of 30 days after written notice describing the default, the other party may institute proceedings for full and adequate relief from such default. So that's kind of like the arbitration, or, if something goes wrong between the parties, what we're supposed to do about it. And then the mobile home park also has a clause in there that requires them to indemnify and hold the city harmless per standard indemnity clauses, and furnish certificate of insurance naming the city as additional insured, so that if anybody's injured as a result of this improvement in our property, we would be indemnified accordingly and covered by their insurance. So those are the main points of the agreement. The full agreement is attached to your staff report. I think that it's already been in use for a couple weeks now, because they can egress through here, and the pedestrian gate. It's getting a lot of use. The residents in the park love to go for walks, and it's definitely been a wonderful benefit to the residents over there to have this amenity added. So I think that's my staff report. I'll entertain any questions.
Any questions?
Yeah. I've been following this gate for years.
Right.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but one of the primary purposes of putting the gate in there, is so that it would alleviate the traffic going out on the 126.
Correct.
And fewer accidents, so I'm really curious as to why the decision was made by the mobile home park to not use it to re-enter the park.
My understanding is that when most of the trips that leave the park and come back to the park are going to town. So
Right.
if they leave through the side gate and can go the back way into town, when they come home on the 126, it's a right turn in, and they have a decel and right turn pocket, and it's not hard to
True.
come home. And so
A little easier.
And then,
Yeah.
and it's not often that they're coming from the east and making a left into the park anyways. And so they're just going to see if it becomes a need or a request. The main request was not having to make that left turn on to the 126 out of the park. That was the biggest problem.
Is the key card access to get back in, if they go that route, is that cost prohibitive at this point?
I don't think it's cost prohibitive. I think it's more they're trying to figure out how to do it with the cards not getting out into the community at large. It's a security issue. Like, how do we give them to the residents and make sure that they don't get in the wrong hands? And they're kind of trying to figure out how they will deploy it, and then once they decide that, when they would deploy it. And I think they're also trying to see whether or not there's a need for it. Like,
Okay.
right now, everybody's happy that they can leave that way and they don't have to
Right.
jet across the 126 coming home, because most trips are into and out of town. And so it kind of solves the worst part of the problem.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to say, I've been following this for a long time, too. Considering I was on the planning commission when we were approving the houses down there. I think this is a total benefit. That the mobile home park's been asking for this for a long time. I'm really glad that it's finally to fruition. I agree with Carrie. I wish that they would figure out how to use it as a two-way in and out, just because it'd be a little safer for me. I meant for the park users. Mm-hmm. And that's about all I have to say.
I'll just make a comment that out of Baldwin Plaza, out of the Vaughn Shopping Center, I won't make a left to go onto Highway 23. I will go out through, through Central Avenue and go back around River. So just knowing that I don't like to make a left and across traffic, I'm grateful that we're able to finally get there, and give them peace of mind that, just feel safer when they're driving out. Thanks.
Agreed.
And I want to echo what the other council members said. I'm really grateful for this gate, and I've also been following it since my days on the Planning Commission as well. But I want to echo what Councilmember Brogy said, is that I think, and Mayor Mark Austin, that I think it's, in my eyes, I think it's important that traffic can go both ways. I think it's a safety issue in my concern. So I just wanted to put that out there. Thank you.
Yes, and this agreement does allow for that. It's just at the discretion of the ownership.
Any other comments, questions? Okay, I'd like to entertain a motion then.
Okay, I will make a motion to approve the grant of easement, and am I in the right one? Affecting real property to provide the El Dorado Estates Mobile Home Park with access and maintenance rights for the vehicular access gate, pedestrian access gate, and related infrastructure.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion. I have a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Move on to item number 7C, dissolution of the city's active adult and film commissions.
This item's asking the City Council to consider whether to dissolve the Film Commission and the Active Adult Commission. The Film Commission was reestablished in 2006, but in recent years, the city's had trouble recruiting members of the commission, and so by default, the staff's been undertaking the responsibilities of the Film Commission, and that's been working well, and so staff recommends that the council consider adopting an ordinance to rescind that chapter of the municipal code to eliminate the Film Commission, which would then permanently leave the responsibility for those activities with staff. And similarly, staff would like the council, to consider eliminating the Active Adult Commission. That's another commission that was just created in 2015 but never really took off, and there haven't been a lot of members and people willing to serve. And as a result, it'll just be easier for the council and the planning commission to know that those responsibilities related to seniors are theirs and staff's if we remove the commission. So the recommendation would be to approve first reading of an ordinance to remove the Film Commission chapter from the municipal code and a resolution to rescind the resolution establishing the Active Adult Commission. Please let me know if you have any questions.
Any questions for Tiffany?
I do. How many of the commissioners are there currently serving on each commission? And when is the last time that each of them met?
Shannon, would you know? I don't know that they've had quorums in a while.
Yeah, I don't know right now. I don't have an answer.
Yeah, Film Commission hasn't met since I've been here. Film Commission hasn't met since I've been here. They may have had one meeting with Patrick, maybe one meeting since I've been here. The Active Adult Center, they haven't had a lease since 2020, I believe. They had a 5-people commission, but it wasn't really getting any work done. Because what we're putting on, basically, the Active Adult Coordinator just ran it by the board and said, sounds good. And they did the programming that way. So there really wasn't a lot of interaction with the board at the time. And then board members kind of went off of it and went to, as the attorney mentioned, tried to recruit, not the people to recruit, to appoint, so it kind of just faded away on its own. And now we're officially bringing it back to eliminate them.
I have a couple of questions too. For the Film Commission, on our website, I know it's been recently redone. Do we have a pretty good site, basically? If people are interested in filming, here's who to contact at the city, here's information, that sort of thing. I just know that I've looked at a couple of other cities nearby regarding their film permits and that sort of thing, and they have a really good, accessible website. Just want to make sure that's available to the public.
Yeah, so the homepage, it comes up right at the very bottom is film permits. What happens now, they make a phone call to my office. I direct them to the city webpage, and they have film permit to click it in. They put in all their information right then and there, submit everything at one time. At that point in time, I work with the police department and fire department to see how many persons are needed and send out an invoice that day. It's usually about 24 hours at most time. Get it back out to them, and we're ready to go. And they seem to really like it because it's one piece of paper. It's right there. They fill it all out. There's not a lot of going back and forth.
Thank you. And then a follow-up question regarding the Active Adult Center, and that is we have a couple of community volunteers. I don't think they've had too much to do yet thus far, but they definitely want to be active. It's Karina and Anna. And so I guess my question is, if there happens to be a group of seniors, out of those who are part of the Active Adult Center, who want to, I guess, form an advisory group or something like that, that this doesn't forbid that. This is just, it's not officially a commission that's part of the city. So basically, the 2 volunteers through the Ventura County Area Agency on Aging, plus the coordinator, whom hopefully will come on board. I don't know if there's an update on how we are with our Active Adult Center staff, but there can be like sort of an informal advisory group that's formed. That this isn't forbidding it.
Correct.
Okay.
This is just removing the obligation that there be a quorum and that it be a Brown Act body with notice meetings and all of that.
Perfect. Okay, I just wanted to make sure that was clear so that folks know that there could still be, active participation from our senior community about things affecting the Active Adult Center.
Yeah, going back to the Film Commission, I was on the Film Commission way back years ago.
It's probably the last meeting.
No. We met regularly, and there was a full commission. There were 5 on the commission. Might have been 4 or 5 at least. And I know things have changed. Doing things online, that makes a lot of sense. Having them apply for their permits and whatnot. But I'm wondering, is there no longer a need to have somebody be a point of contact while the filming is going on? I know we have law enforcement out there, and those were some of the things that we would do on occasion. We had one point person that was there all the time. But, I don't want to say let's get rid of it completely if it would relieve some of the duties that staff would have to do. So when they're actually here on site filming, who's the point of contact at that,
Currently, we have a firefighter assigned to the shoot. Depending on what they do, they may have to have more than one. We've had somebody there, we've had no issues with people being on site, but we had police officers on site, we've had public works employees on site in the past when we use their barricades. Now we don't use them. They have to bring their own barricades in, do their own closing down of the parking lots. We don't do any of that anymore. So we're taking a lot of the work away from staff and putting it back on the onus of the production companies. And they actually seem to like that as well through our conversations. But every film we've done so far this year, we've had either police out there, which have been required, and/or a firefighter for the whole time. And we've had no phone calls in terms of help. And then you also have my phone number in case something comes up.
Okay. Maybe it's just because I have a fondness for the Film Commission. That's kind of where I started, but I hate to see it go by the wayside. But if it's not being utilized, then, okay.
Well, just along with that, Carrie, wanted to mention we had a meeting not too long ago about promoting the city and getting information out about Fillmore and that sort of thing. And it would be great, again, speaking of websites, and again, I know this would be staff time, but to get photos to sort of, show that we're a film town. How does that take place? And basically, how do we get that still happening?
It seems like that might be part of what's going to be presented later, the key results areas, right, and the desire and the need to have a marketing strategy for the city, not only just for drawing businesses and people in, but then how do we get word out to our residents? So
right, we
can probably talk about that a little bit more, but I believe that's just kind of the way I understand Dave's going to approach that going throughout the year. As, what are our requirements, and then how do we approach that? But I do think that would be an excellent part of it.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
And with that, I'd like to entertain a motion.
I'll move that the City Council approve the first reading of ordinance number 23-948 to dissolve the Active Adult Commission by removing Fillmore Municipal Code, Chapter 2.34, and approve resolution number 23-3920 to dissolve the Film Commission by repealing the City Council Resolution Number 06-2911.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion. I have a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, motion carries. Move on to item number 7D, 308 Chambersburg Road, State Highway 23, property update and request for authorization to record a deed restriction.
As the city council and hopefully the public knows, the city council's been going through a process to declare the, there, I must have hit it twice. The city council has been going through a process to declare the property known as the Equestrian Center, as well as adjacent property owned by the city, to be surplus. And the city went through the process, which involves notifying affordable housing developers and certain public agencies that the property is available. None of those entities expressed interest, such that we didn't have to have a negotiation period. And we need to record a deed restriction saying that if any housing's ever built on the site, that 15% of those units will be deed restricted for affordable housing. And once we do that, we should get a letter from HCD saying that the city council has completed the surplus process and can now sell the property if they want to. So the item tonight is for the city council to discuss what it wants to do with the property, and if you would like to offer it for sale or issue an RFP like we did for the town theater, and direct staff what next steps you'd like to see.
Okay. Any questions for Tiffany or comments?
Yeah, my first question, going through the report, is what are the restrictions as far as building, since it is a portion on a former burn dump?
So on portions of the property, and there is a report, and I mean, that's probably why only one housing entity for a little while was potentially interested in the site, is there is a significant portion of the property, largely where the equestrian center is located, where there are restrictions on what can be done there, and the cover that needs to be maintained and reapplied from time to time to keep former burn dump site materials from surfacing. So there is a very detailed report that we would include with the notice that we send people about the property being available. Dave and I also spoke yesterday, I guess it was, with the LEA from the county who oversees the property, as well as someone from Cal Recycle who helps oversee this property since it was a former dump site. And then we also reached out to the Regional Water Quality Board to see if they and/or DTSC had any additional thoughts. We've updated them as the council's been going through this process for the last year plus, and so they also wanted to suggest some language that we would include in any advertisement of the property to make it understood by a purchaser that there are ongoing obligations and restrictions on what you can do with that portion of the property. But that's only about a third of the property. It's almost 40 acres.
Okay, so it's a total 40 acres, and of the 40 acres, what would be really restricted? Do you have an idea?
It's about a third where nothing can be built, or nothing can be built into the ground. It can be things like the equestrian center use, where it's on the surface and above.
Right.
And structures are put on it, but not into the ground.
Anything in the ground. Right. Okay.
So parking lot would be okay in that third?
Probably. I mean, I don't think there are any methane issues, so the pavement probably would be okay.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, with that, I'd like to entertain a motion.
Okay, I will, I'll make a motion that our mayor sign the deed restriction required by HCD and direct staff to record the signed document, and that we direct staff to arrange for the sale of the property at Chambersburg Road to be put on the open market.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion. I have a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Moving on to item number 7E, First Amendment to Contract Services Agreement for Water Quality Advisory Services.
Good evening, City Council. Nice to be here with you. This is First Amendment.
That, Troy?
I do. I do. I wish it was a little more quiet, though. So this is the first amendment to contract services agreement for water quality advisory services. The reason for this is as I've come on board, I need some transition time to work with Jaime and in the water quality reporting, a lot of the regulations that we have, and he has the background knowledge on that. So everything else is kind of stated in the staff report. If there's any questions, I'm here for your answers.
Any questions for Troy? Okay, seeing none, I'd like to entertain a motion.
Okay.
Go ahead, Gary.
I will make a motion to approve the First Amendment to the contract services agreement with Jaime Magdaleno for water quality advisory services and authorize the mayor to sign the First Amendment.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion. I have a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Moving on to item number 7F, receive and file downtown strategic vision report prepared by Retail Strategies and have a staff disseminate the strategic plan and its proposed implementation.
Thank you, Mayor and City Council. As you know, the downtown area has been a priority for the City Council over the past couple of years. Last year, City Council authorized staff to enter a contract with Retail Strategies in July of 2022 to prepare a 5-year strategic vision for downtown Fillmore. And the focus of the vision is to enhance and accelerate the current revitalization efforts occurring downtown and provide a vision. Through our partnership, they held community meetings, outreach with surveys to the community. We held a public meeting here at City Hall with local business members, elected officials, and other interested parties to talk about the downtown area. The plan also had talks a little about trying to connect the residents to the downtown area and what we could do to enhance it. Part of their plan is broken down into, we call it low-hanging fruit, doing 1 to 2 years, 3 to 4, then a 5-year period of time. The plan is attached for your, take a look at right here. We want to start the implementation part of it this year, February 2023 through July of 2023. We've already reached out and talked with the local FAB president to talk about partnering and working together and identifying some of the top items to work on this first year. Some of them are having the community roundtables, taking a look at the downtown strategic plan that we've had in place, the vision, see what we can do with that, if we need to modify that. Take a look at one thing that was mentioned earlier tonight, marketing. How can we market the city, market the downtown area better? Take a look at the entrance sign, the Fillmore sign, and also where we have our banners out there as a way that we can dress that up at a cheaper cost than what's being proposed with the overall new Welcome to Fillmore type sign. So tonight we also had our first meeting with our ad hoc economic development committee to kind of talk a little bit about the process and what is included within the strategic vision. And tonight we're asking City Council to receive and file the downtown strategic vision, and we'll put it up on our website, disseminate it to the local businesses that are associated with FAB and FAB, then take that out to their membership. So we have it all for people to take a look at. It's a great starting point for our community. It's one of the highlights that City Council is looking for in your upcoming goals. We'll talk about the next item. So we're open to answer any questions.
Dave, will this be also on the website? Public?
Yes, we'll put it up on our website. Correct.
I'd just like to highlight one of the recommendations that they made, develop a so-called cheat sheet for especially new businesses and entrepreneurs who are new to, just whether it be building codes, which we just updated earlier in this meeting, and a lot of people may not even realize that, and the codes continue to update very quickly and mandated by the state. How do we get that word out there? So as a cheat sheet, piece of paper is good, but I would really encourage staff to consider how we can develop the electronic means to get that information out there quickly, especially with all the changes that can rapidly happen, so that our information that we put out, in addition to the actual codes and regulations, that we're able to adapt and change with it quickly, so that way we don't lead people down a path where we end up saying, no, you can't do that now, or, it's different now, and we were just behind the ball and trying to identify that for you. So that's something that's going to be a challenge for sure. But hopefully with our new resources, electronic resources that we're developing, we can kind of keep that as a focus to really keep the local, the lowest common denominator in business development well aware of what's going on. Whether they receive it is another thing, but we need to really do our best to develop it for people who are new to the game.
Okay, I have a couple of comments to make as well. Thank you, Chris. To piggyback off of Chris's comments, I'd like us to use this this document and to sort of see where else we can apply it to. And what I mean by what Chris was mentioning about the cheat sheet, I think that's a really fantastic idea. And I know our former council member, Lynn Edmonds, had been talking about such a cheat sheet, but I think she also meant residential. And so what I'm saying is if we're gonna do it for downtown business, and it'll take a little bit more effort to maybe try and I know it might be hard to do a cheat sheet for residential. There's a lot of different codes, but if there's like a top 5, top 10 things that will help the residences, and we're already in the motion of doing it for our downtown, let's use that time to see if we can get that cheat sheet also for residential properties. Another area too where we can kind of piggyback or go off of something that we're working on is there's talk in this about removing barriers for upper floor housing, infill development of middle housing, and of course we have our draft housing element, which is up with the state right now, but it's a document that we can still keep updated. So if there's things, like I said, as we're looking at this particular, implementing these strategies, if we can, use what we already have sort of irons in the fire, we're already working towards them. Let's try and do that. Let's see here. I liked all the information that was in there about drawing more to our great bike path. And that's definitely should be a highlight. And let's see here. I was thinking also in the tourism section and talking about ecotourism. And again, that can be sort of, again, around the bike path of getting, off the road, doing biking around our areas. I know there's been mention on the council about maybe eco hiking tours of CESP, trying to get, drawn folks who may want to go up to that area and see if we can work with the county or the forest service on that. And also there is the CESP Cienega Restoration Project over by the fish hatchery. That's another whole ecotourism area that folks might be interested in. So I just want to see if we can get that, add that to our tourism section that we have in our retail strategy, our downtown strategy, to draw people in. Thank you.
I just had a comment, and I actually want to address this more to our community and to our business owners. I know that there were community meetings that were held to provide input to the committees that were putting this together. When we're talking about this document, I just encourage, once it gets up on our website, and that would happen as soon as it's approved, I would assume. Yeah. So go to the website. Is it possible for them to even get hard copies of it? Yeah. Just get your hands on a copy of this document, because I can tell you it is a wealth of information. It gives you all sorts of stats about our community, how they came up with some of the suggestions that they came up with. It provides, for example, on central ideas on the best way to set up the storefront windows for retail stores. It gives just such great detail in so many different things. It talks about where the leakage is. Leakage meaning, where do citizens in Fillmore go to purchase items outside of Fillmore? So how much money is leaving Fillmore and not being spent here, and how can we rectify that? How can we keep our taxpayer monies here in our community? And so, that's a huge goal for this council, for I think all councils. But this document's going to go a long way to doing that. So again, I just really want to encourage the community, all citizens and the business owners out there to get your hands on a copy of this, look at it on the website once it's up, and research it and participate. And I think we'll see a change on what's happening right now on Central and the business district. And then also, as was mentioned earlier, the same type of pattern and technique can be used in other areas of the community, whether it be in the housing, for neighborhoods, or on the highway. Right now, we're focusing on Central, but I just encourage you to do that. It's just a really interesting read. I think it was great. Thank you.
Albert, you have anything? Okay. I like to reiterate what all the other three council members said. This is just basically a roadmap on how we're going to get from point A to point B. As Carrie said, it's going to take a lot of work to get from point A to point B. I think the big thing was the leakage. It really surprised my eyes to open up and look at how much leakage Fillmore has leaving. I knew that since I've been in this community, because everywhere I go, I drive out of town to get Home Depot or wherever. I drive out of town for several of these leakage things. And I think if we'd be better off if we can bring those back to the community. And this provides us kind of a roadmap setting us up and how we can do that. And so with that, I'd like to entertain a motion to receive and file.
So moved.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion. I have a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Move on to item number 7G, city discussion and adoption of key result areas as a city council 2023 and 2024 goals.
Thank you, Mayor, again. As you're aware, there's been 2 years since City Council developed a set of goals to assist and guide us in our decision-making process. We had a retreat on Saturday, January 21st, 2023. The retreat was a public meeting that included city staff. Also had some residents participated. And at the retreat, the City Council discussed the following topics: the benefits of good government, what's your legacy, governing body team effectiveness, a refresher on the council manager form of government, a review and update of 2022 accomplishments, headwinds, change as a process, not an event, and key results areas and goals, and review of our prior goals. The KRAs are developed at the retreat are less of a focus on identifying specific projects or getting to the right scenario, and are more about discussing purpose and helping the city's leadership understand that the future can be dramatically different from the present, while fostering a deeper understanding of the forces driving potential changes and uncertainties. There's no fiscal impact adopting the key results areas and the City Council's updated goals. Staff recommends that the City Council approve and adopt the attached key results areas as the City Council's goals 2023-24 goals. Also, if there be any additions or you'd like to see as well, this is the time to bring them up and we can add them to the overall carry goals. There's other items we may have wanted to add since that meeting. I will take any questions and mark up any suggestion changes by City Council.
Okay. I'd just like to make one recommendation. It was discussed in the meeting, but maybe not specifically, to tie the key results areas to the vision statement that already exists in the city's general plan. That is to foster a thriving small town atmosphere in which civic pride, personal well-being, and a balanced economy are nurtured and protected. So that way, each one of the departments or any one of these projects kind of really does focus and kind of keep that in sight. Obviously, reaching back towards the other specific goals to achieve that, but it would be a great way for us to really show to the community that general plan document really is kind of what sets the structure for a lot of what we do. And it's already been developed with a lot of community input in the past. So I really think that's a key thing that we should highlight and strive for.
Any other?
I just want to echo what Councilmember Gurrola said. Thank you, Councilmember, and I support that idea. Thank you.
Like the previous document, this is something also, the key result areas, which sets out the goals for all of our, this council right now, what our primary goals are. It should be available, readily available to the community. Is that something we can also add to the website, or is that already? Yeah. Okay, so look for that as well. It'll give the citizens an idea of, what we're focusing on, what's important to us, and we certainly are always open to additional suggestions and feedback. So, but I'd like to see that done too.
All right, sure. I'll make a comment, and I just wanted to share with the public that we had a really great session. It was really a pleasure to work with Dave, with our consultant, and with my fellow council members on this. And I like that we all really agree that we're supporters of the nuts and bolts operation and future operation of the city. And all of us when we were asked about what do you want for your legacy, right? We all had slightly different answers, but we all kind of came together and said we want to be part of a council that leaves the city, in better hands with the next councils that come, right? So we just want to be good stewards. That's our sort of our bottom line. We want to work together and be good stewards of the public funds, and that was really wonderful and just encouraging. So I'm really looking forward to implementing these. Keeping these goals and strategic goals in mind. And then, we're going to be working on our budget process. And that's another thing too, just to, for the community to know and for, to share with council members that this is also something as we decide, how we use our city funds, those, the small amount that we have, that these goals should really set us up for how we want to set those, spend our funds. So, thank you.
Okay. I think that the consultant did a good job of summarizing all of our thoughts and putting it into one cohesive document. I agree with Councilmember Villaseñor that we all had different ideas, but they were all kind of the same. So we've got a roadmap here of what we can follow to be for this council for however long we're together. And with that, I'd like to entertain a motion.
And I would make a motion to approve and adopt the attached key results areas as the City Council's 2023-2024 goals.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion. I have a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Move on to item number 8, committee, commission, and board reports. Anybody?
Yeah, I just wanted to report that, not last week, Councilmember Gurula, and I attended the new council and new mayor's academy, and I took a ethics class, and I really got a lot out of. They did a mock city council meeting, and I think I got the most out of that one session. And I just wanted to thank the city and the league for putting that on, the city for sending us. And I also wanted to report that earlier today I attended the Air Control Pollution Board, and I attended that. Nothing really significant happened. It was just, we got, new members took our oath of office, and so I look forward to attending more of those meetings and reporting back here what's happening there. So, thank you.
I was just about to say that, the League of California Cities does a lot to help coordinate efforts, especially to give a little bit more teeth to small towns like Fillmore. There's a lot of similarities between other cities in LA County, especially. This was a Southern California led event. That you may not otherwise think have a lot in common with the town like Fillmore, because it all kind of blends into one. But that was a great opportunity to see Many of the same challenges, but just on slightly different scales. But it was very educational and insightful, and I really appreciate the public allowing us new council members to be able to attend. It's going to pay dividends in the way we're able to serve the community, especially understanding a little bit more about other cities and then having good connections with other cities, especially in the local area. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Any other comments? Okay. We'll move on to item number 9, City Council reports, recommendations, and comments. Seeing none, we'll move on to item number 10, City Manager verbal report.
An update on the Active Adult Center, the Active Adult Center Coordinator. We've had 9 applications, and we'll be scheduling interviews for the first week of March. So we'll make contact with the top candidates probably within the next 2 to 3 days, is my guess. On top of that, we were notified this week that we received the Operating Budget Excellence Award for fiscal year 2022-2023. So we're proud of us, finance team, to get that done, and City Council for your leadership. It came from the California Society of Municipal Finance Officers. So again, it's a nice award to receive for the work we've done. I do have one question for Kevin. Is that the TV set, or is that the restaurant across the street music that we're hearing?
That's the restaurant across the street.
Okay, I just want to double check.
It's the restaurant.
Thank you for letting me know that.
Can I get my noise meter out?
Okay. Just want to make sure.
Yeah.
Thank you, that's all I have.
I can see it right through the door.
Yeah.
Okay, with that, we're going to move on to item number 11, closed session. The City Council will go into a closed session for conference with legal counsel and anticipated litigation. The council will conduct a closed session pursuant to Government Code Section 54956D4, because the city is considering whether to go into initiate litigation in 10 cases. So we're going to closed session. Met in closed session. There is no reportable action. At this point, we're going to adjourn the meeting to the next regularly scheduled meeting at 6:30 on Tuesday, February 28th, right here in City Hall. Meeting adjourned.